This is Jimmy. This is Washtub Jerry. I'm Michael Gifford, or Gut Bucket Giff, and I want to thank Becky for letting us put this workshop together at Stickerville. I got in touch with Jerry about 4 months ago or so, finding his website online, and started emailing, and I was so excited about Weiser and Stickerville that I think maybe some of it rubbed off, so here he is. And I always like to start it off with music, and I've asked Jim to come and play songs so we could maybe hang out there and play along.
Cool.
And well, each of these basses look different, they sound different, and we play them differently, even though they're same basic bass. So I only met Washtub Jerry on Friday, and we haven't played together, although I've heard you play and he's heard me play, but we stay apart because one bass is plenty. I can't play when there's another bass in the scene. So this is what this sounds like. Take it away, Jim.
All of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? Take my arms, I lose them. Take my lips, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. I know that I'm no good without you. You took the power that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Everybody hum.
Without you. Fiddle, all right.
Your goodbyes left me with eyes that cry. I know that I'm no good without you. You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Well, why not take all of me?
Thank you, Jim. Ha-cha.
Wow. Can you just play the same song?
Sure.
Are y'all okay to hear the same song played?
Well, there's got to be another one, hey?
No, I like this song.
Yeah.
Why not?
All of me.
I'm not playing.
Why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? Take my arms, I never lose them. Take my lips, I want to lose them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry, and I know that I'm no good without you. You took the power that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Well, why not take all of me?
Hey, Jim. Thanks. So, once again, thanks for coming. And it's great to. I've loved this instrument since my first one was 65, and been telling people about playing the washtub bass and saying that there should be more people, because most people have the skills of hearing. At least I'd like to believe that a lot of people have the skills of listening, because it's really what the only skill that you need. It's the most important skill you need. If you don't have that, so I'm getting ahead of myself, but playing the bass line for both of us, I'm sure, is extremely satisfying. I'd like to play the bass line on other instruments too, but I take this really seriously, and since I've been, this has really shaped my life a lot, but I won't get into that. But I do totally believe in its efficiency, in its effectiveness, and its musical qualities, potentially. So I'll get into the. Basically, I think if you can sing the bass line to music that you're hearing, if you can hear a note, find the right note, the root of the chord usually, and follow that with your ear, and sing it, actually make your body produce that note, then you have the skills to be able to place this. to play this instrument. When I'm playing the string bass, I do the same thing. I find the note that I want in my head. I mean, you can read with music, and that's great, and that tells you what to do. But I'm talking about playing with an abstract point of view of singing. So once you can sing the part, you can find the note. And it's the same with Washtub Jerry's instrument. He's got to have a note in his mind before he can find it. Myself, if I don't know how a song goes, I won't play. I'll let it go around a couple times, figure it out, meanwhile singing along and figuring the chord patterns with numbers and kind of relating to that. And then after that, off you go. And every note is a note of a creation, you know. It's not like any other instrument where you can just walk up to it and it makes a beautiful sound, like putting your finger on a piano or plucking a guitar string. This you have to will and shape and create every note, and then you go on to your next note and start all over again.
51 years.
The ear training is everything, because that's all you've got is in playing this instrument. It's like a saw. There's nothing except your image. And so I was lucky. I grew up in a family of singers and harmonizers, singing barbershop quartet and listening to all the parts, and played a little bit of the low basses in high school, and so I knew what a bass line sounded like right away. And so here's what I would suggest. If you can hear a chord such as this one, you don't even have to know the name of it. And if you can sing the root in any octave, you know, there's a range of different roots of this chord. It happens to be a G. So I know, are you singing along? Are you humming along? Can you get it? Here's another. So when I hear a song, I listen to it, and in my head, I mean, if you can read somebody's hand and see the changes, oh, it goes from F to B flat to C, I mean, that's to your advantage. If you can read music, then you can do that, and you can sing along. But if you don't have any of that, you're just singing, you find one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and based upon that knowledge, off you go. And your instrument, you find where that is. I call it home, the root. Maybe it's here, maybe it's there, but you find that, and you can work up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe, you know, depends on the range of your string, or you can go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know, so you work within that, and I'll show you how I hold it. It's a little bit different than Washtub Jerry, but it's the same idea. So you don't have to be, you can be in any key. I have a range of 18 half steps on mine, and how much of a range do you have in yours?
I work at an octave and a third. That's approximate. As an engineer, but mine changes depending on if there's air underneath the floor. I go a lot deeper.
Cool.
And I don't want to go higher because I don't want to pull the bottom of the tub out, and I don't want to play high notes anyway, so it's very compatible.
So on a string bass, this is my lowest note on my washtub bass, and the acoustics of the room affect that. And if you're playing along with people, sometimes I can go for a low note. Any lower than that, it's just kind of a nothing. And my highest note is that. So that's an octave and a fifth. That's 18 half steps. And any higher than that, you're probably gonna, you know, risk pulling something apart, you know. But still, that's workable to play in any key. And I'm not trying to substitute, when I play that, substitute this, because they both sound different. I can sing when I play this, and when I sing when I play that, I lose my focus on my concentration on my pitch. So electric bass is great for certain things, and tuba is good for certain things, bassoon's good for certain things, jug is good. So they all have their place.
So is somebody capable of playing this that doesn't have a strong musical background?
That's a good question.
Like me.
And I would say, do you like to sing? Have you been singing for a long time in your life? Like since you were a kid? You know, singing that. Do you go around and you hear songs in your head and you're going doo 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 doo? You're making up little licks. You know what scat singing is? Wop bop beep lap, making up nonsense syllables, but jazzing things up. Wop wop she bop. You know. So if you have that kind of music going on in your head and you're singing, and then yeah, I would say you have a really good chance, because that's the one thing that you need to have. If you have to have music written in front of you, you know, and it's not just something that comes out, you know, if you're not hearing it in your head, then Yeah, it's
Because
going to be more difficult.
both of us have a lot of vocal in our youth, in our background. So we can catch some notes, and I credit my singing with the youth church choir as my drive and desire to hear delicious chords. And so if you've done that, then yeah, you could.
Yeah, my whole musical life has been driven by singing. Everything I've learned on guitar is because I heard a song and then I learned the chords, and in doing so, oh, that's really cool, and then so, but the singing part is where it's at. And like I said, if I've got my string bass up here and I was going to play all of me, I'd be singing the same thing. Bom, 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 bom. When I play, so our styles of music and what we hear, a bass line is a bass line. I mean, you hear there's music, there's a chord, there's a root somewhere. I'm recording the camera right there. Yeah. So you can stay on that root until the chord changes, or you can play the root and you can arpeggiate, or you can walk up the notes of the chord. 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, or you can mess around and play the strong root of the note and the strung part of the beat. It's just a great general rule for any kind of bass playing. You can mess around, but as long as you keep the right note in the right place at the right time, almost anything goes. So I like to get around a little bit more. It's just I'm more anxious, I guess. and you play more down and lesser moving, walking basses, moving scaled stuff is what you're saying. Yeah.
I can walk, but most of the people I play with are songwriters, and they want a non-busy bassist.
Yeah. Well,
and so to keep from being fired, I deliberately play ultra conservative.
And that's important. You got to play the style of the song.
Yeah.
And even within one song, I know if I'm in a jam session, if it comes back to a vocal, I'll just tack off and just put it in the right space, place, and time, and let everything else that's more important go on. So yeah.
So this will always be a tub good for washing dogs, but now it's a musical instrument because I have changed the radial tensions to make them normalize to each other, equal to each other. And so a fist punch or something worse of stepping on it, something like that, would upset that and make it sound like 10,000 monkeys beating on trash cans because it excites the harmonics. So I have to be really careful when I'm walking in a crowd. I have a flight case, but I don't have a walk around case. People don't understand, oh, that's just a tub. Well, a fiddle is just a piece of rotten wood, too.
You had to go to Mexico to find that one.
All of my tubs, I have 9, and all of my tubs are from Mexico. They're all the same manufacturer, same size. So there's a rule that that I obey is I never put any pressure here. So when I stand on here, I'm on the rim. I don't allow any pressure here, and don't allow any pressure here. And it's risky when people want to play it. First of all, their shoulder doesn't come up right, and a lot of times they don't have appropriate shoes. My cobbler makes these shoes. He puts the thickest sole that his machine can put on this shoe. So I have special shoes for playing this, which means I can't share it. Giff wanted to play it, and we worked around it, and we tried it, but it doesn't work. His is more forgiving, and so.
You probably realize this. There are 3 variables changing the pitch on the string: the length of the string that vibrates, the thickness of the string, and the tension of the string. There's another kind of washtub bass that you can build that uses the length of the string, and it could have any kind of a resonating chamber, garbage can. They sound really good, and it has a fixed neck that's attached either to the body or it's somehow wired up there, so it's freestanding, and you can walk right up to it. You can have it tuned in open A, and there's this flat fingerboard like that of a bass guitar, string bass. So bong, bong is A, then imagine the 2nd fret for B, C sharp, D, boom, 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 boom. You're doing that. So, and it sounds really good, and you don't have to, you can stand like a human being on 2 feet rather than that, but it works really well. I went down to the hardware store and bought the biggest washtub I could find. I could have gotten a smaller one, I could have gotten a square one, but it seemed to me that sound travels in concentric circles, like a rock in a lake, and that would be conducive. And I know the bass is big because bass is low, and anything that's big is going to be lower than something that's smaller, so I used clothesline because that was all I could find, and it would stretch and break, and after a while somebody gave me a gut string and I had some nylon strings too, and I tried the gut string, and I knew right away that that was the sound I was looking for. And since then, I found a string-based supply place in California called Lee Muir, and you can buy single strings. Later, I discovered that gut strings, when they get wet, stretch. If you're playing in a late night in humidity, you know, that's no good because it won't go back. So these are both D strings, string-based D strings. This is a nylon string, and it won't stretch. So at nighttime, I'll curl up my gut string, get out of the way, and get my nylon string, and off I go. And it really sounds pretty much the same. I just like the warmth of the gut. This is $20 for the white nylon string. It's almost $70 for the gut string. They last a long time. But the length of my string is less than Washtub Jerry's here. I guess probably by about the height of the wash tub, because he's bringing his up here. I determined the length of my string, which happens to be, I just measured it, 42 inches from the end of the nut to the bridge, whatever. And that's the same length as my string base from the nut to the bridge is 42 inches. And I didn't do that on purpose. What I did do is, I think it's important to get it off the ground to let the sound out. I mean, I've got a hose clamp on here to keep it from splitting, and I got that stick, notched it in place, and then walked up to it like this. Now, for me, having my arm tucked like this gives me solid control. It's like my whole torso is locked, and moving the notes is a little bit of a twist of the torso. It's not like, if you were reaching out like that, your arm would be shaking and you'd never get one pitch, you'd be all over. And you've got to fight like crazy to make each note, a pitch. So this is where I tucked in here, and I put the notch for the string below that. So and now I can just hang on that. So that's why the length of the string is that way. If a shorter person is going to play this, I think they could use, if they wanted to, a different string. They'd have maybe a different notch here, and they'd have so because you want the best advantage of the fulcrum, right? You don't want to be down here. That's really too hard. Down here. Anyhow, this is the best advantage and control. So when I play it then, I've left a handle on so that I can carry it. That's really nice. Because anything the vibrations just going nuts. You put a penny on there, it just jumps around like crazy. So you can create a counterbalance by pulling against yourself by your foot on the rim. Again, you don't want to touch this part. And so you're pulling, otherwise if you didn't, you'd pull it up like that. So if I find a note like that, and I can go 1, 2, 3, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's that, a G? All right. So, and biggie, two big things about the instrument. One about the instrument, one about playing it. About the instrument, I found that galvanized metal it's not made for its tone qualities, right? It's got a lot of high overtones that are awful, and they create a wolfing, sustaining, echoing, trashy sound with a lot of high. If you ever touch a new galvanized metal, the high overtones, it's really crisp. And so I found that by putting duct tape on the inside and dampening out the highs, and the stickers I did just for years because they were pretty, but I realized that they were always enhancing my tone. And I didn't know it until I brought a brand new workshop, a brand new wash tub to a workshop here in my second year. And it was clean, it was this one as a matter of fact. And I had another one, and this just sounded awful, but it still had the same string. And I thought, God, dumb. That's really important, in my opinion. If you want to get a better, warmer sound without all the high, crappy stuff, I don't think you can overdo it. You can always take off duct tape, but I have these, and the little second thing is, I've had these discs made about 3-4 years ago. On both sides, it's pulling against a bigger surface area, which is really nice because there will be cracking, and there's a lot of fatigue. And so these things cost me $10 each, but what a great investment. And the other thing is about playing, that this just seemed natural to you, or makes sense, that when you play a note and you change its tension, you're going to get a continuation of the note, and it's called a gliss, or like a trombone. And when I play a note, I want it to be a note and a good note, and then I want it to go on to another note without a. And that's what a lot of people who don't think about it, and it gives washtub bass a bad name because they're slapping around. They may have something rhythmic going, maybe relatives, highs or lows, but it's more of a scene where they're not really thinking as a bass player. They're certainly not trying to get the best sound they can get. So what I do is every note has two halves. The first half is sound and the second half is silence. It's just like when I play string bass, it's a pull, touch. You come back and you deaden that string, and the last half of the note, it's like boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom. So pull every note. Very equal, except for the waltzes. 1, 2, 3. And you can have long notes sustained too. But if you're moving along and you want it to be a good sound, and you don't want to create a bad sound after it, you have to. I do an overhead thumb. I used to do this. Used to wear a glove, but it's still. And you can try that by going pull, touch, pull, touch. It's that kind of an action. Once you have that down, which is really easy, you can concentrate on one note. So, Jim, play me a bunch of G's. Just one, just soft chords. It's just one chord. Don't change. One. So if you wanted to play this, get somebody to please play one chord, you know. And when I first started playing, I couldn't listen to anybody, talk to anybody, or sing. Just control. Play another note or chord. And you might. Well, there it is. So you get that action going, and then you're off. Thank you. That you're off to go. If you have somebody to help, the first part's really hard. You have to really focus in on it. And as I said, I can sing, but it's really not fair to this because it splits my tonal concentration, you know. Anyhow, the tub, the tape, the action. That's about all I can think of. That, you know, it's not rocket science, but you have to be able to sing that note. I grew up, like I said, in a singing family and was hearing the root and the harmonies and all that kind of stuff. And I think that the best training for any and every musician is to get away from written music. I mean, it's great, but you always have that. Get away from written music, and when you hear music, find and sing the root. You know, if this is a major chord, but it could, and I'm not adept at playing all kinds of fancy chords, but nevertheless, starting off and doing that, da da da, bum bum bum. Just keep doing that, and it's just makes you stronger and stronger. And no matter what instrument you're playing, finding that root takes you through the whole progression in a way you can follow it. And then if you sign numbers 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. You know, that's been. I can't. You know, without that, I would have had nothing in my life and playing this. And I know it sounds kind of corny, but it's true. It leads you everywhere in finding the root.
My approach was, well, a little different, but at the same line. When I switched to this, I wanted to be part of a group. Well, I sucked. So they told me that. And I had two choices, and I've chosen the choice of, okay, I went in the closet and turned the radio on, and I played this for many years doing what that they're saying. And I just did that to get my body and my ear and this, so I just put it together. And it took, I spent 12 years, a dozen years. Now, I was ready at about 7 or 8, but they weren't. They didn't believe me. But somebody heard me, so I came out. So it does take time. Either way you do, we're doing the same thing. We're listening. I just didn't vocalize. I just left that alone. I tried to hear that and match it. And sure enough, it works. But it takes a lot of time.
I'll mention a video I have on YouTube, a Washtub Bass instructional video. That's exactly what we're doing here. It's 2 parts. It's called Compleat Washtub Bass, and complete spelled E-A-T. Compleat Washtub Bass. So first is 18 minutes on theory and ear training, like this, and just a bit of stuff, you know, it's the classroom teacher and me coming out. And then the second part is about 36 and how to build it and play it. So if you were to build it, I would suggest find the biggest, roundest wash tub you can. If it's older, I think the metal's probably more heavy than I've seen some pretty thin galvanized metal tubs, but this is about $30. There's some, you need a stick. Any kind of a stick, in my opinion, will work. This shovel handle was quite fine. It's probably most available. I flew to New Zealand without a stick, and I went to the hardware store. Got one just long enough. A little bit of hose clamps to keep it from splitting. The string I would recommend is the best buy. Again, I like the string-based D string. You can try anything. You have a clutch cable.
Yeah, for a Force 914, it turns out a lot cheaper than your bass.
And his is metal, and so you can try string-based strings that are metal. You can try anything. I have tried not everything, but to each their own. Anyhow, this is $20, and there's a.
What'd you say?
We'd each
Oh,
the string.
that, I've seen a lot of people do that. It stretches, but
Oh, stretches so much you can't even get a fifth.
Oh.
Oh yeah, you're way back here. Yeah. So incidentally, his string is, I believe, I can estimate 18 inches longer than mine.
I think it's 6 feet.
6 feet, yeah, I guessed it was 60 inches. That's 5 feet. Really?
He's 72
6
inches.
feet, 72.
He's 30 inches longer.
Yeah, well mine's 42, and plus that height, at any rate, it's much longer, and so it can get much lower.
Well, the height
And-
is the same. Doesn't matter the height of the tub because they're both starting from the lip. So
Now, but your shoulder's higher, right? So
That's
it's
the
still
difference.
coming from the top of the
That's
tub.
the difference,
You know,
yeah.
if my shoulder was where your shoulder is, my shoulder would be up here, and
Yeah,
my
that's
string would
true.
be that much longer. You know, so that's where I'm getting my numbers. At any rate, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It is longer, consequently lower. But you seriously consider this. If you want to play washtub bass, it's a ball. It's changed my life. But you have several choices if you want to design one. You can have the freestanding one where you're standing on 2 feet like a human being, and it's freestanding, and you can shorten and lengthen the string. Personally, I don't like that, like I said, but or you could have a floor standing one. I mean, you can build one with a lever. It's doing that kind of thing. There's all kinds of pictures on YouTube and of different washtub basses. I never thought of anything different than this idea. And now I find that after about 4 days of standing on my left leg like this, my blood goes to my ankle, you know, and it's not normal. But then neither is Stickerville, so that's fine. But the idea of counterbalancing like that, Washtub Jerry has this way of, you know, I was suggesting. Have you thought any more about what would happen if you took a piece of 1x6 or 2x4 and put it across there, and you stood on that?
yeah,
Would that work?
it probably would. And no, I haven't thought more about it.
So it's a possibility for a person who wants to do that, have a longer string, build a platform across there that does not touch this surface. He's done a lot of work on this surface. I've given it much thought. As a matter of fact, I put my beer on here and my lunch, and I put stickers on there. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Instead of putting the dampeners on there, I changed the metal shape to get out the whole.
Yeah.
How did you go about changing the metal shape?
If it was grouped here, then I wanted to gather. It's like a seamstress problem. If you have material that you need to gather, then I make the peaks peakier. There's a peak that I'm touching, and then from the bottom there's a peak down there. So I would push the peak peakier to gather the material. And if it's too tight and expand it, then I would push down on the peaks from both sides.
So were you hammering?
No.
No. Well, how did you push a peak?
I take a dowel, a round dowel, it's about 1 inch in diameter, a blunt cut, and I very slowly roll.
Oh, okay.
Whichever way I'm doing, very slow. It's repetitive. It's iterative. You roll some, and you test it. It makes my body quiver to think of a hammer. I'm sorry.
Well, I thought you were going to make a peak peakier.
I do. I make it peakier, but we're talking subtleties here.
But if you're rolling the top of it,
That's making the peak not peakier.
right?
That's the other way.
Okay.
I'm either
It's gonna come
gathering
to me.
material.
Well, I got you. I just don't
How
see
do
how
you
you
gather
can.
it?
Anyhow,
How do
Okay.
Yeah.
To gather material, you make the peaks peakier, and it pulls it all in.
Right. What tool?
It's a round dowel.
So the same the same tool to flatten the piece or raise
Yeah,
it?
I hold the dowel and I roll it. I just roll. It's not very sophisticated.
Roll on the edge.
I
of the edge.
roll on. I'm sorry, I didn't. Thank you for
No,
asking.
no, that's-
I roll on the edge. It's
Oh, I understand.
it's brutally simple.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
At an angle.
at an angle,
There
and,
you
and,
go.
and it's
Oh,
yeah.
reversible
I
in case I
understand.
screw up. So it's one area at a time. That's why it takes another route.
You
So,
said this wasn't science. I'd say that's very
well,
scientific.
it ends up being you can analyze
You know,
it from the science,
Well,
but
it's the engineer's point of view.
and
So
where were you when I
So-
needed you?
So there's two
Yeah.
different
So-
approaches to,
Yeah.
that
to
helps.
solving the overtones.
Oh, there's the
Absolutely.
Just a washer and a nut inside.
What I have is built is two of these discs. I paid $10 each. It's a 1/8 inch aluminum, pulling on a bigger surface area. Before then, I'd use fender washers, which is the biggest is that, and it cracks up. I wanted to show. Yeah.
All right, so I have a washer too, and I'd like to tell you that I went through a lot of math and science. That's what he is. I got out of my chair and I said, geez, I need something round. I walked to the machine shop and, well, there's something round. I picked it up and this is it. No science involved, no math involved. I had to make the hole a little bit larger. There is felt that I glue onto this piece so that it doesn't have a rattle, but it's called dumb luck. So I played the ukulele and the washtub bass simultaneously. I found a way to play with myself in public and not get arrested. I can't say that in youth places. It's so fun to be with adults. Oh, I'm not going to do that yet.
Oh, not the, oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's a...
I mean, I had so much desire to make it work at first. I never even thought about it, but I mean, I've been playing the thing for now nearly 52 years.
Really?
It's about the same.
Yeah, and so you're right. I mean, but when I play string bass, I find it's really relaxing too. Except I've got to get that in shape. For this, I can play it immediately, and I can play it for 4 or 5 days non-stop without hitting. I mean, I have to take little breaks to sit down and bend my leg. But I don't get all that going, you know. So I must have figured out a way to do it relaxing. Like I am hanging down there. I am just when I get in position, I'm just totally relaxed, which I think is really important. If you've got other things to think about, the worst part is sometimes toward the end of a song when my left leg locks up and I'm just crying. It's just screaming, end the song, and it doesn't end. Anyhow, would somebody else like to give it a try? Again?
I don't have that. I put the pole against my shoulder. So
Yeah.
this hand there's no, it's just
Oh,
holding it there.
But you still have your arm locked and you have this torso.
But there's no soreness, and
No,
I just
no.
leave. The soreness for me comes in real long songs. This tries to go through my foot.
Oh yeah, I
So
bet.
my feet.
It's like
would
standing
go
on a ladder on a wire.
a little.
Yeah.
So I like 3-minute songs and get off and then get back.
Yeah. I tried this a couple days ago and I was wearing these sandals and I don't have any ankle support. And I was on the rim here, but my ankle kept going like this and touching the top, which is no good. So
Not for this one.
you need to have, or try the platform, the
Sure.
performer platform. But it's so much fun, and I gotta tell you, it's opened up my whole world in allowing me to meet and play with musicians of string instruments, and most of them. And at a time in my life where everything was written, and I started doing this, and I went to the music curriculum too. It was all written, but there was this whole world out there, and I began coming to Weiser in the late '60s, the early '70s, and playing this, and nobody could, of course, read people weren't reading music. We had that capability, but most people I knew were learning from records and tapes, and from other people. There's all this acoustic string music out there that has opened up the world. So I'm glad that you guys have had a chance to see what it's like uphand. It's a totally useful instrument. Nothing second rate about the washtub bass. It fills the gap And it's, you know, it's not just something anybody, a lot of people look at it and think it's so simple they can play it. Well,